When art awakens, we tune in to our creative flow. It's the collaboration between who we are and what I choose to call the divine source of creation. I just tune in and let it flow. Welcome to Art Awakens, where the creative juices flow. Which tea did you eventually choose?
Something with orange blossom, which sounded interesting, and I've never tried it before, so
Orange blossom.
here we are.
Are you a tea drinker?
I am, yeah.
A lot of tea drinker?
I do try to drink more tea than coffee, because, I get jittery at some point when I drink too much coffee, and so the coffee is really until certain hours to either wake me up or keep me awake throughout the day.
Oh, yeah.
And then I have to stop at a certain point because otherwise I will stay awake while I want to sleep. So there's that. And I also, if I can drink, what's that, mate? You know that tea that they drink in like a calabash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a tea?
Yeah, there's a tea, but it's like high. It's high on caffeine.
Oh.
So also when I don't want to drink coffee and I need caffeine, I drink this
And what's
tea.
it called again?
Mate.
Mate. Wow. I'm gonna look
Drink
that
it in South America.
Ching ching, girl.
They drink it in South America, and when I did my thesis in Spain, for about 2 weeks, I bunked with 2 Brazilian girls, and they drank it every day. And it was like very ceremonial, and I sat with them and I would be drinking too. So by the time their parents or their moms came to visit, and the mom was drinking the tea, and it was me and the mom just drinking back and forth. And then
you changed the cup?
yeah,
You share it?
you share the cup.
Oh, wow.
And this was pre-corona, so no one was scared.
Yeah.
And so me and the mom was drinking it, but I didn't realize that it wasn't like a very natural thing for someone outside of the culture to be doing like this, especially after 2 weeks of just living with them. And so when my roommates walked in, the mom was like, "You trained her well."
Oh, wow. Cool.
She sipped everything. Like, we just drank. You have to put a new cup because we just drank everything.
Nice.
Yeah, but that was nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Radinka, what is your, how would you describe your relationship with creativity?
Wow, that's a good question. Thank you. First of all, my relationship with creativity is very important for me. My creativity, it almost drives me crazy if I'm not able to be creative or do something. But really, my relationship has been on and off. Maybe, as they say in Dutch, a bit of a relatie sometimes. Okay. Yeah, but it's just mainly been a battle between what is expected of me to do in terms of career, and also what I actually studied, which has nothing to do with creativity, unless you count my minor.
Yeah.
And so it is this constant battle between what is expected of me and what do I want to do, which I preferably am just being creative the whole day, which is not realistic.
No, why is it not realistic?
Because I have bills to pay, and it's not making me like a living wage at the moment. So yeah, I sometimes...
How would the perfect creative life look for you? If you could make money and live off your creativity, what would you be doing? What would it look like?
I would, I mean, first of all, I wouldn't have like a set schedule or anything. I would be going experimenting wise to see what comes out of my creativity. Like even as an artist, I find it hard to really describe what it is that I do, and really hard to really choose one thing to do, because I want to do all of the things. And so I've kind of, to put some kind of limit or shape on it, I said, okay, I'm a storyteller, and whether I'm telling a story through writing a short story, or doing a podcast, or dancing, that gives me that room, and I want to continue to experiment in that. I would love to make series and films and these types of things as well that go into storytelling. I told myself my next project really that I want to do is like a comic book series. But yeah, it's not coming as maybe quickly as I want it to come. And at the same time, I have to ask myself, does it has to come, as quickly? And am I the one wanting it to come quickly? Or is that, again, an expectation from the outside? Like, okay, you've written a book, a year has come by, you have to dish out the next thing, or so again, that battle between expectation. But for me, perfectly, like the perfect creative career or world is that I have that freedom to decide, okay, I'm working on this now, and I have to park it, and then I'll go start the next, because that's the thing, I start something, and I might start something like 3 years, 2 years in advance, and then I park it and I go do something else, and then I will eventually come back to that and finish that. So
what happens when you actually park it? Because I think that's very it's interesting, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do I park something if I'm working on a project or whatever? Do I park it because I lost interest, mm-hmm. or do I park it because my attention went completely somewhere else, like a little sideline? That's how it goes with me, right?
Yeah.
I'm working on something, and then in the middle of working on this, which I'm super excited about, then suddenly a little thought comes off, of it takes a side, and then suddenly. So to give an example, let's say I'm painting with watercolor, with mm-hmm. acrylic color, and I'm sitting painting, and suddenly I'm thinking about a circle. I'm drawing a circle. And then I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should, turn the circle into like the seed of life.
Yeah.
And then I find myself suddenly sitting drawing like geometrical things.
Yeah.
And I look back and I was like, oh my God, I was painting with watercolor, and now I'm sitting here completely lost. Seriously, completely lost in geometrical. So how do you...
I'm not saying that does not happen. It happens as well. And this is more something that I've discovered afterwards, that I've been doing all along. That usually I park it because it's not going in that moment, and it not going can be a number of things. It can be that my project idea is too big for only me to accomplish, so either I need more time, or I need more people, or more resources, what have you. So what I often do is I write down as far as I can what the idea is, and I leave it. Sometimes, indeed, I'm working on a very specific creative thing in that moment, and I'm like, oh, this idea, oh, that idea. That also happens. But so far, I've noticed a lot of times it's been I hit some kind of blockage. So, like I said, I don't have enough time or people or resources in that moment to finish it. So I put it aside, and then years after I'm working on something, I'm like, oh, I can actually use what I started working on. And then it suddenly clicks that somehow my future self prepared, or my past self prepared for my future self in some way or another.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's been...
So how do you have like a lot of projects like sort of lying there around? Like my house is packed with and then I was like, oh yeah, that's a whole project going on there, and then it's just piling up.
Yeah. So I noticed I had most concrete example that I can give you is that I started maybe 3 to 4 years ago. I started with my friend Nadia. We were going to start a band. Experimental band.
Great. Experimental band.
Yeah.
Like
and
that.
I remember I just purchased the Apple pad for my sister, but I had it because my sister's in Bonaire, so I still had to fly over there to hand it over to her. So I had this period of time that I had her Apple iPad, so I had GarageBand, and I was making beats and sending it to Nadia. And so what ended up happening is I had this archive of beats that I made just sitting in my email because it didn't go through after that. And the beats were there, and then years later, here I am. I've written my book. I did an audiobook also, and then I was working on NFTs because someone was like, "Oh, NFTs, it's like the next big thing if you want to like have community of artists and this and that." I was like, "Okay." I was looking into that, so I decided to do an NFT collection based on my book. In that, because I was in Twitter talking to all these NFT people, everybody is giving like utilities, as they call it. So that means you buy the NFT, but you get something extra. It could be membership to the community or to entrance to the game or whatever it is they're selling. So I thought, what can I offer from my NFT that is linked to my book? So I thought my audiobook, it was my first audiobook ever. I didn't consult with anyone, but I thought it's kind of boring, so maybe let me try to spice it up and I can offer a special edition audiobook for the NFT. So I ended up going through my library or archive of beats that I made 3 years earlier, and it actually ended up fitting perfectly in the audiobook.
Wow.
And
The big magic, right?
I was like,
that's so, I love to hear that. That's so shows that it's all connected on a bigger picture, right? And we are like, because I always think that we're kind of like the channels, that all these ideas, they come through and they, they manifest themselves through what we do. So the fact that you made something 3 years ago and you just made it and you put it aside, not thinking, okay, now what does this have to do? And it needs to become something and, like stricting yourself on something, but you can actually put it aside, leave it to the divine timing, and then suddenly it just goes. That's amazing. But so one thing you did finish is your book, right?
I did finish my book, yes. I was a bit nervous when putting it out because, it's quite thin. And you can see that.
It's like you. It's like you, but then in a book.
I don't know if I'm this thin.
No, but it reminds me of you. Like I see it and it's like, it's you. Perfect.
So, it's called A Tale of Her. And basically the idea behind it is, so I was like, okay, I finished studying. All this time I kept being redirected to do other studies that weren't art. I always wanted to do something with art, something creative, but it was always like, it's not going to make you money, you're not going to make a career, etc., everything that comes with that. And so I kept choosing things that wasn't that. And
why did you choose those things that wasn't that?
Pressure, maybe at some point I believed them, also that I couldn't do anything. Maybe I didn't know where to start with it. So there was, I tried to switch a couple of times, but always something went wrong, the blockages. So I ended up studying international development management, which I do enjoy. I am passionate about this as well, but it's not the same passion as I have for art. And that's why I did my minor in creativity and art at work. And those were my happiest 6 months of my academic career.
Yeah.
I was like the happiest. I was almost sad that I had to go back and do my thesis, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Once I finished and I went through a breakup, also right after finishing school.
You were breaking up with everything.
Yeah.
School relation, yeah.
And After that breakup and during my relationship, I come to realize afterwards how much of myself I gave up for this person, for the relationship. And it was this moment of now I will do everything I want to do, so including becoming an artist. And I had ideas for project where I thought, okay, you want to become an artist? No one knows you as an artist, they don't know your art, who you are, and these things. And so this was the shortest project that I could complete in the shortest amount of time, the quickest to kind of introduce myself to the world.
As an artist?
As an artist.
Okay.
So, I was going through a breakup and other things also happened with other people after that breakup, situationships. Yeah. That I was writing a lot of poetry because that's usually my engine, my fire, is how you call that, my gas power to make me write poetry. So I was writing a lot of poetry, and I know that poetry can be a very niche kind of thing. Like not everyone is into poetry. Not everyone understands poetry. So I thought, why don't I just write the story behind the poem? So I ended up selecting, I think, 10 or 11 of my poems, and I put them more or less in chronological order, and I wrote the story, and the story keeps getting interrupted by the poem. So it's like, here's what I went through, and the poem is like,
oh wow,
this is how I was
amazing.
feeling.
Yeah, it sounds super cool. Now I really want to read it. Now you tell
yeah.
me about it. Can you maybe either choose one you want to read, or just open the book somewhere and read?
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah, right?
Way. Oh, we ended up here. Do you want the pre-story or do you want just the poetry part?
Wherever you want to start.
I will just start from the precursor to poetry. And this is... So the book is split up. I'll explain that first. We have the foreword, then it's her death, her rebirth, and her manifesto. And I happened to open it at her rebirth. So, after these heartbreaks, I found myself wondering how this happened twice in a row. Perhaps it was me, and the future I imagined having with them. The alternative universe inside my mind that kept me imprisoned in pain. The pain of them not seeing the potential I saw. It takes two to tango, you see. I realized that I needed to stop wishing for things with people who don't want the same with me. While I did love both of them in my own way, I couldn't help but wonder if this strong connection came from them being emotionally unavailable with father issues, which is ironically the same issue I had with my own father growing up. Whatever the case, I shouldn't be wasting my imagination on the fairy tales and happily never afters. Though there is nothing wrong with being a hopeless romantic, I should invest my energy elsewhere. So I write and I create. In creating, I reclaim my energy. In doing this, I go on adventures and discover new things. It allows me to let go of things I never thought I could. It offers a strange kind of comfort. At least I can control what I want to do with my time and my creativity, outside of my daily adult obligations we all have. It doesn't matter that lovers who were previously just friends become just friends again. Maybe one day they become the friends we randomly visit, and maybe accepting that a lover's heat has cooled becomes part of the memories we now share. And then you have the poetry, and I should say that the poetry is accompanied with a drawing, each one of them. And you see a tombstone, R.I.P. love.
So for the people who are just listening to this, we are watching now, we see like a gravestone with rest in peace, and it's a black and white rest in peace drawing.
Yeah, sepia, I made everything sepia.
Oh, yeah. And a clear red heart.
And the poem reads, "You gave me comfort in my darkest days, and between us a potentially undying love was overthrown. R.I.P. the fondness I had once shown. Release the love that I now hold, as I grieve for a lover that has gone cold."
Wow.
Oh, that's
Beautiful. And I really also love the... No, sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh no, I was gonna say I really love that because I had someone help me proofread it and give me some tips because it was my first book, and they said you're missing the opportunity to make that a eulogy. So I was like, yeah. So that's how that poem. It was slightly different before, and I changed it into a eulogy, like really.
Beautiful.
Reading. Yeah.
Very nice. And I liked also what you read before. What I remember of it. It really gives me goosebumps at the end, like the last part you were reading. Also that that at least what I understood is that the creativity gives you the possibility to work through things, to express yourself, to deal with emotions.
Yeah.
In what way does creativity sometimes saves you?
I think it has saved me. It definitely in what you say, learning to just deal with my emotions, and I think especially to process what it is that I'm feeling, because it can be so intense sometimes. Like I told someone a couple of days ago that it should be illegal for me to be able to get more emotional than what I am already. But yeah, I just
Why?
feel, because I just feel so much and it's so intense. And sometimes it's hard for me to put that into words. Or let me say, historically, it had been hard for me to put that into words. And I started noticing that I write it. And as I embraced that that's how I processed it, it became better for me to also handle my own emotions. So, yeah, it really helped me in that sense.
And what happens when you read back what you wrote in those moments?
Sometimes I think, damn, I'm dramatic. Like, I'm so dramatic. What's going on? So yeah, I can laugh at it sometimes, and I can understand more why I was feeling a certain way, and like this, I was able to connect it with my past traumas, why I'm stuck in certain patterns, and it was very, very therapeutic to write, especially this one. I don't know if any of my future books will be as therapeutic as really writing this one has been.
So tell me about this book. What does this book mean to you?
Freedom. That means to me that I finally made the choices that I wanted to make instead of going behind what everybody else wants from me. I don't know if I can cuss on your podcast.
Of course you can.
It was
everything is possible
for
here.
me the biggest fuck you to the world, and at the same time it represents a lot of nerves because it was I mean, yes, it was fun writing it, making the illustrations, going to everything, but then once I actually published it, I realized, oh crap, I published something very, very personal. And everyone in the world that knows how to get to this book can basically buy it and read, even though it's very thin, can read something very, very personal about me. So it was nerve-wracking at the same time. But to go back to the first word I said, freedom, once you've put that out there, there's really no going back. Then
Nice.
I had no choice but to be myself.
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Do you have things that you've made, pieces of art that you're afraid to publish, that you would actually really like to publish or to bring out there to share, but you don't?
I mean, we've established that I have some kind of archive of things. I don't know if I'm afraid to bring it out. Whether it's that I'm still unsure sometimes, is this something I can sell, or what do I do with this?
Yeah, because that's interesting, right? I mean, art, art is, it's just a funny thing. Art and money, and asking money for it and selling it, and it's just for me, it's also, because I work, of course, as I help entrepreneurs creating video, be visible with video and photography. And on the other hand, I have art, right?
Yeah.
It's like two completely different worlds. You know, when I'm at home creating art, I completely let go of everything. There's no schedule. There's no need that something needs to come out of it. It's just go with the flow, right?
Right.
And I'm really considering, like, okay, what should I do? Like, sometimes I think, oh my God, I just want to be an artist. Let it go with all this with all this work for people. And then there are times I think, why don't I just try to combine those two worlds? And then I try to combine them, and I see, no, that doesn't work either. And then I think, okay, so what about just making art? And so now I gave myself this 30-day art challenge. On the 1st of November, I was just going to create art. And came the day 1st of November, and I was like, what am I supposed to do now? Well, I cannot sit behind my computer and do assignments for clients. I have to just sit and paint. I don't think I want that. So that was, So, yeah, the whole interesting part. You said, like, you made things, but you're not sure if you can actually sell it. So it's like the. Can you give me an example of one of those things that you?
I have a very beautiful painting, as a doll painting, as I did it on 2 canvases. And I did it for my minor. And in that period of time, I was going a lot to Paris, and I saw this Paris artist on the market use jute fabric. And I was like, I need to use this. It's amazing. So I did. And that's like, to me, one of my favorite things that I ever made. And I ended up making a team of capitalism using nature, and then underneath, first I painted a landscape, like just nature landscape, and I put on top of it the jute, and the jute is kind of like tearing away, and the capitalism using nature park is completely on the jute, so it represents like that yes, this is happening, but some people are tearing away the fabric of this capitalism and choosing to live in nature. And it turned out really beautiful. And I think it has the potential to sell. But I have, one, the issue of pricing it. And second of all, it's hanging in my house. And I love it. So I don't want to part ways with it. So yeah, this is one of the paintings that I have. I even showed it because I'm part of the artist collective, the Deepwater Collective, and we had it was an open gallery, and I brought it there, and I put the price and everything, and then it didn't sell. I was partly bummed it didn't sell, but another part of me was really relieved because I get to keep it.
Could go home again.
Yes. So yeah, it's been a struggle in that sense.
Wow, that's interesting. So okay, so you brought it there and you hang it up. And what was the price you put on it?
I think I put like around 300 or something like this. Yeah.
And how did that price feel for you?
It felt weird. Like How had to coach me to put the price up, because I was like, I don't know.
Oh, you so for 300 euro was felt like a lot?
Yeah.
How much do you think it's actually worth?
I think it's actually worth more than that, because if I have to actually count the hours I put into it and the materials and everything, I think I definitely will.
So how much would it be worth, more or less? Like, if you just give it a number compared to the time and the materials?
I think at least like 500.
Okay.
Because it's 2 pieces.
And what's the value? What's the emotional value? The
Priceless.
yeah, right? Like,
Yeah.
what would the price be if you would put a price on there and that would feel, okay, now this feels good. How much would that be?
I don't think I would ever have an actual price for that particular piece. That I will be happy because I would want to go into the person's house and steal it back. Because I don't know, I really like it myself. So I've been considering, okay, maybe I should just continue my experiment with the jute fabric and sell those.
Yeah,
and keep this as the original.
I completely recognize I completely recognize what you're saying. I've sold only one, and that was a print of an artwork. Can you imagine?
Right.
So I was just So I wondered. What keeps you from selling prints of that artwork?
That is something that I'm more considering. What has kept me in that sense has been, okay, do I have a couple of prints at home and I ship it myself, or am I gonna do the whole print on demand thing? And then here is where my artist clashes with the very socially conscious international development graduate person, that everything has to be sustainable, and I don't want to, use a company that is selling a lot of plastics and this. So they clash a lot in that sense. That I've even been so far as that I had through Shopify, I had my store on with more merchandise and everything, and then that super sustainable person inside me is like, I don't like this company and I need to have it more in hand to decide what material they're using to print and everything like this. So that's usually that those two are clashing. Yeah.
You call yourself an artist?
Yes.
Why?
Because I've decided that it makes me happy, first of all. I feel that sense of freedom within being an artist, even with simple things like my makeup. I've decided that I don't have to learn how to do the proper wings because I'm an artist anyway. I can do whatever I want with my makeup. If I dress and my dress is a bit kooky for the conventional world, I can just say, well, I'm an artist. I can dress however I want. So
it's like a ticket to freedom, it sounds like?
It's like a ticket to freedom for me. Yeah.
And are there also people that if they ask you, hey, so Radinka, what do you do, that you actually do not dare? Or that you think, no, to these people I cannot tell them I'm an artist?
I'm not. That has not happened. I've been more self-conscious about calling myself an author than an art. The artist thing flows. I don't have much of an issue with that.
But an author?
Yes, I'm like, this is all I've written. This is all I've published. Can I?
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I have problems calling myself an artist.
Yeah.
But you kind of it just transferred into something else. So you can call yourself an artist, but not an author.
Yeah.
So what happens then? What happens when you?
I feel more the imposter syndrome when I call myself an author. Just because, as I said, I started out with, look at how thin it is, Can I call myself an author?
Is this a book?
Exactly.
Is it a book?
It is a book.
So what would be needed for you to call yourself an author?
It's not that I don't call myself an author. I do use it. I'm like, yeah, we are published author and everything. It's just I feel like an imposter because this is all that. Maybe that's also the sense that I feel like I have to write more so I can feel like I'm more deserving of the title author. In comparison with how much art I've made a lot more art than what I've written. So I don't have...
So it's kind of like compared to, you can call yourself something if you just made enough of it? to actually call yourself?
Yeah, it seems that would be my dilemma at the moment.
Because that's also kind of how it started, eh? You said that I want to be an artist, so the easiest way to introduce myself is to write a book.
Yeah.
Now you wrote a book,
Yeah.
but now you need to write another book to be
Yeah.
able to call yourself an author. Yeah, interesting, eh?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's very. I mean, I cannot call myself an artist. I mean, I can, but I can't. Like it's.
Why not?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like to be able to call myself an artist, I have to be a known artist. But how do I become a known artist without calling myself an artist, right? That's like the complete egg and the chicken. I don't know if that's a saying in English. The chicken and the egg, yeah, probably is. But that's yeah, and yeah. So we should just start. I mean, what would even happen now if we just go around and say, "Yeah, I'm an artist." I mean, I feel the freedom that you're talking about, right? So that's the whole like, why do we keep ourselves from? What's up with this one word or with this one? That's crazy, yeah.
I guess it's the connotation you have behind the word. So apparently, you're thinking of an artist. You need to be like, I don't know, Van Gogh or something like this, like more prominent in society. Yeah, like your work needs to be more known for you to call yourself an artist. That's the feeling I'm getting. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah.
So what's the feeling when you think of an author? Mm-hmm. What all kind of things come up when you think about an author?
Someone that actually writes more than like
more than one book.
More than one book, that writes frequently and consistently. Although I have to say, I am in some author groups on Facebook, and there's a lot of jokes being made about authors not actually writing as much as we think that authors write. So it's a bit comforting that I'm not the only one feeling like this. But it makes no sense because
can you say your name and say that you're an author?
Yeah, but well, here's the tricky thing. So my legal name is Radinka, but I write and I'm an artist under the name Maanarak of Grey. So I would say I'm Maanarak of Grey, and I'm an author.
And if you would say it with your own name?
I'm Radinka, and I'm an author. But it doesn't, yeah.
It doesn't have the same
No,
feeling,
because
right?
I like, look, it's Maanarak of Grey. Yeah.
What made you choose to do that under a name and not under your name?
I made this name a while ago in my heavy conspiracy theory era that I was learning about the conspiracy about the government owning your name and all of these things, thus owning you. And we're not going to go into the whole rabbit hole, but...
Now get interested. Let's go into that rabbit hole.
But, okay, it was this conspiracy theory that the whole legal aspect of your name and how it's registered into the system, and it had something to do with like the whole Catholic Church and how they brought it in, and some spiritual things behind that, and that, long story short, they own your name, they own you. Or your name is, the person on that paper is not you. And that was some years ago. I can't tell you like the exact thing. That's more or less all the things that had to do with it. And I came to a point where I wanted to rename myself. And I should say that before this, in my younger years, I always had issues with my name. I remember I complained to my mom once that, why did you name me Radinka? It sounds like a little girl's name. So when I grow up, I will still have a little girl's name. For me, it still feels like my name, Maanarak, because it is made of components of my legal name. So my name is Radinka Anna Marie, and I chose the Rakama. A-N and M-A, and then I scrambled it together and I made Maanarak. So one of the issues I had is why, if I'm named Radinka Anna Marie, why can't people just either use my full name, because those are all my names, but they're only calling me Radinka. Why do I have those two other names? Anyway, I had enough issues around my name. So it felt for me...
What did that do to you, that you had all those...
that I had all those names?
No, that you had all this insecurity or doubt or frustration or answers or questions or to your name.
I just remember that moment of being angry with my mom, and then afterwards, I mean, I didn't think that much of it afterwards, and then plus people call me all kinds of things. Some people call me Ras, other people call me Dinka, like my family calls me Dinka, other people call me Radi. So I already have so many different names in a sense.
What would you like people to call you?
I prefer either Ra or Maanarak. So I do prefer Man, because I feel like you're calling me by my whole name more than you're calling me just Radinka.
Okay, so is it also so that if I would call you Maanarak, that you feel more that your whole being is being called out?
In a sense, yes. Yeah, and also I have an affinity with the moon, and in Dutch that's maan. So that's also why I rearranged it so it starts with moon. So yeah, I feel... I felt so happy that I renamed myself. It was like an act of taking back like power. Not that I don't appreciate that, you know, my parents took the time to find a name that they like to give to me, and not that I don't appreciate my own legal name or anything, but I just like the power of being able to name myself.
Oh, wow, I wonder what would happen if everybody would stand still, right, and think, what would I name myself? What would I like to be named? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That suddenly maybe people would like come out with a whole new character.
Yeah. I do, and I made this joke when I was posting, because recently I celebrated the first year of Maanarak, that I officially was the author and everything, and I said, well, ironically, the biggest gift that becoming Maanarak has given me is that I can be myself.
And what does that mean? When you, how are you when you can be yourself?
I'm just free. I'm just not in my head as much. I'm not thinking too much. Well, what would this person think? Or what would they? It still happens sometimes. I'm human. You know, it's not like it's completely taking away everything. But yeah, just I give myself, like, Maanarak just speaks her mind. You know, she just says, always in a respectful manner, but she has much more freedom to say what she wants, and you know, maybe
You're talking about Maanarak now?
Yeah.
How come you're calling her she?
I know, but I know I'm calling her she, but I'm talking in a third person now, because this entity, sometimes I'm able to like give it a different status almost than, Radinka that goes to work and pays the bills, and so she's like, in that sense, I talk to her as a third person sometimes, and
You talk to her?
I talk.
You talk with her?
I talk with her.
Okay, but
I talk
you
with
talk
myself. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and does she? So does Radinka as Radinka talk to her? You're having a conversation.
Yeah, but I always had that, even when I didn't have Maanarak.
Oh,
I
wow,
always had
okay.
conversations with myself. So I
With
guess.
you, and is that like? Do you recognize that person that you always had conversations with?
Yeah.
Do you know now that that was also her back then?
Yeah.
Did you know back then that it was her?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
I just consider that's okay. That's my more free side, and then that's like the side that's been more shaped by society, so to say. And it's also a joke that I used to make. Like, I sit with myself. I think I make that joke in the book. Like, I'm just sitting with myself, like at a round table, just deciding things, kind of, yeah.
Huh? Can you explain that? What, you're sitting with her, you mean?
Yeah,
with the two of you?
Yeah.
Around the round table? And then?
Just discussing things, and that, well, what we're discussing depends on the situation at hand. So, yeah, just having conversations with myself.
That's so
Not
cool.
that people think that
That's
I actually
nice.
think that I have like a it is myself still. That's not the case.
That's not the
in
case.
a sense.
That's not the scenario.
Yeah.
Not yet.
No, not yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.